Welcome back to the Mermaids Cave. I'm Leslie Levison, and we are on a dazzling crazy quilt adventure together. Today we're going to be doing beaded roundels. If you want to break out singing, dancing in the street, that's perfectly fine. This is a rather simple technique. So here are some examples that I've done. And it's kind of meditative. It's very nice to work on. This one has a rhinestone in the middle. The rest of them all have beads in the center. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is I'm using a number 10 beading needle, and I'm going to use two colors of a number 11. There we go, number 11 beads. So I'm going to put on one. I have blue and gold. I'm going to put on a gold bead first, just like so. Okay, now I'm going to come up along the right next to that bead. And generally the ratio, if you're using the same size beads, is 1 to 8. So I'm going to put on 8 blue beads. It is very cold here again. Okay, so that's 8 beads, in case you're wondering, in case you like to get weather reports. And I'm just going to snug that around and take my needle down right next to the bead that I had on first. So we're kind of making a loop around that first bead. And then I'm going to tack it down. You might have to tack it down in a couple of different places to get it to lay right. Okay, so if you're of a certain age, you may remember doing daisy chain necklaces, you know. So I'm going to take my needle down again. And then I'm going to come up again around. We're basically making concentric circles. Now, I'm using the same size bead for the whole thing. However, you can certainly use different size beads. I do recommend, however, that any beads that are in the same row, I came up a little too far away, that any beads that are in the same row should be the same size. So for example, this one, the silver and maroon beads are a size 8, and the pink beads are size 11s. But I was consistent within each circle about what size bead I used. Okay, so now back to our little beginning one. Now I'm just going to put on 5 gold beads. And just kind of snug that around. And you're going to come up, oops, let's get back in camera. You're going to come up between the 3rd and 4th bead. This is similar to what we did last week with the capuchons, the first row of the capuchons. And I'm going to go out the last 2 beads. Okay, now I put on 5 more gold beads. And I'm going to continue doing that until I go all the way around. So if you're stitching along with me, it'll take a few minutes. Now you may be thinking, whoops, you may be thinking to yourself, well, that's not really round, Leslie. That's sort of angular, but it'll get round as we go. Five more gold beads. Okay. Now obviously I don't have room to put 5 more beads on, so I'm just going to see how many beads I can fit in there. Okay. And it looks like I might just be able to get 1 more bead in there. Oh, maybe 2. Maybe I can get 2 in there. So now I'm just going to take my needle and go through the first beads that I put on there to complete the circle. Okay, give it a little tug. And take your needle down again. And then we're going to do 1 more row. And then I'll show you some examples of different roundels. So my last row, I'm going to alternate the beads just as a decorative element. So I'm still putting on 5 beads, but I'm alternating between blue and gold. And we have a thread out of the needle. Okay, back in business. Okay, so I have my beads on, my 5 beads, alternating blue and gold. And again, I come up between my, what is it now? My 3rd and 4th bead. And go out through my 4th and 5th bead. Okay, again, 5 beads. This time I'm going to start with blue. Blue, gold, blue, gold, blue. Now, there are some beaders who only put on 3 beads at a time, and that's perfectly fine, especially if you're going around a really tight curve. If you're doing letters, something like that, and you're going around a tight curve. Why am I not in focus here? There we go. It's sometimes easier just to do 3 at a time rather than 5. And we're back. And I'm going out the last 2 beads, or maybe the last 3 beads, as I came up a little high. And as you notice, I'm using a double thread so that my thread doesn't come out again. Put on 5 more beads. Oops. Oh, I got 2 golds in a row there. That's not good. So I'm going to just slip those beads off. And put on a blue. Okay. Now you can see it's starting to come together there. Now if you wanted, you could stop right there and just have a half circle. It's up to you. There's lots of different things you can do with this. I'm just going to finish this out. And then, like I said, I will show you some other examples. So I ended with gold, so I'm going to start with blue, gold, blue, gold, blue. I'm sorry, I keep moving that out of the... I just need longer arms, that's all. That's interesting. Okay, and we have a knot. And we have some fuzz caught in there too. So usually you can work a knot out. So and we're coming up on the last one now. I want to end up with a blue bead, so I'm going to go gold, blue, gold, blue. And let's see how that plays out, if that fits right in that space. Yes, it does. Yay! So here we go. Now I'm just going to take my needle down. And come up between the last beads I put on. And go through a few beads. And then take my needle down. Now, if you see that there are some beads that are kind of sticking up in previous rows, you know, you can just go back and tack them down. Okay, so there's my little roundel. And of course you can keep adding to it and alternating alternate colored, excuse me, alternate color rows with solid color rows, and so on and so forth. So let me show you some other examples. And then I'm going to go drink some hot tea, which I obviously need. Okay, there we go. Oops. Okay, this has a little button in the middle, a little antique button, and then there's some beads around that. This is the one I did last week with the capuchon, and then I added a roundel. I was kind of thinking, could I do something yin and yang, but I didn't really have the time to figure that out, so I did it this way. Here we have another fan. I have beaded roundels and shisha mirrors, and I also have a beaded capuchon on that, a beaded jewel actually. More rounds, more capuchons, and we're gonna come back to this. I'm gonna show you how to do all the fancy stuff on the beaded roundel, like that. This one I particularly like. This is an abalone button, or supposed to be abalone button, and then I used delicas all around it, and then at the very edge I just attached a drop bead every 4 or 5 beads, whatever it turned out to be, and it's very pretty. This was a sample from a class that I used to teach. We did the roundels, we did the points, we did sequins. There's a lot of stuff going on in that little class. But again, it's very pretty. And a paisley is a perfect design to put on your crazy quilt, and then put roundels in the middle and beads and stuff. Okay, this is the block that I've been working on along. So here's a roundel. Now here I added seed or bugle beads. So I have a seed bead, a bugle bead, a seed bead, a bugle bead, a seed bead. You should always have a seed bead on either side of a bugle, because the bugles are cut very sharp. And what I did was I went around and I just tacked down the little blue beads on the edge just so that they would stay in place. Okay. Here's another one. This is just a plain roundel, and I've surrounded it with mother of pearl buttons. That's a capuchon from last week, and another capuchon from last week. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed our little venture with beaded roundels, and by all means, just experiment with it and have fun with it. And the next 2 episodes, I'm going to be talking about how to finish a crazy quilt. Whether you're up to that point or whether you're way beyond that point is, neither here nor there. You take from these videos what you need, and I'm going to show you how to square out your blocks, sew them together, if you're going to use sashing and posts, or if you're just going to sew them all together without anything in between the blocks, how to tie it, to make binding, and also that you can actually embroider on it, which would be your quilting stitch, actually. So, from a kind of a sick mermaid's cave, I'm signing off. Have fun stitching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.